he's young, he has all this energy, and I was like, I've got to pass this on because that's really cute.
That's great.
This really young guy.
That's great.
Here's your good. His name is Bourne, Jason Bourne.
Football going and everything.
It's good.
Oh,
It's so
really?
much fun.
Yeah, I noticed some of the ones in Charleston are gone. I was like,
This is his first.
for real. Put him up. You want to do it?
Yeah.
They keep disappearing. People like his name.
Well, it is sort of iconic.
I know.
And, I mean, we remind us almost days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Call this over.
So we're at Windsor tomorrow.
No. And then it sort of seemed like it might just go with a good time to let him try.
You need an outlet.
Yeah, what do you got?
Yeah.
Got anything?
So,
Or record, we might need to find a different
be like,
slot for it.
try it, see what you think. And he played one season and the second was like, it took,
Walkie
I
talkie.
was just like, yeah, I'm never.
Hey, Beth.
You know?
Beth, can you hear me?
Yeah. And it just doesn't.
I don't think
it's not
he's turned the sound on.
his
Oh, okay.
properly, and so it just like wasn't.
Let me check. It
We
should
got credit for it, I didn't try. Because if we'd said no, like.
That's Sigler, can you hear me?
You know, so it'll be interesting to see if that.
She cannot, okay.
So she's
Sorry,
showing if it is
She
his thing,
has
you know.
also a part of the presentation that she just sent me. So maybe when we get there, you want to present or do you want to?
Stressful for me.
I can present,
Like,
that
you
probably
present
makes the
and
most
then-
sense,
yeah.
because then
Like,
this is
given
separate.
him Grounding, and he'll on his own see that.
If I could
you know?
do that.
Yeah.
And that's
I
what
mean,
sort of.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's what comes to me realized, like.
Like if you click double people,
You know, they're.
You wanna, Beth, can you hear us?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't think she's got her
It's
sound.
complicated.
I don't think
right?
she is present.
What did I do? I think you can pull this way. I might have.
He thinks he's good at it.
Okay, there's that.
Okay.
And then when
But
I
I
also
also
need
need
the
to
other
say-
one, then when you have to share this tab
Realize
instead,
like
you can
a couple weeks in, Alex, like this Alex is like all around athlete, as good as was, but he just like you could just see him sort of like realizing his own limitations.
She's muted.
And
I color coded.
he was actually sort of like.
What is actually Hartland challenge here? Hartland's purple.
I can see that on our audio.
Oh, okay. I have it
See that
here.
Got it? Okay, well, she might want it, but she can't, I'll just leave it there, okay?
Yeah.
Somebody message Beth.
Sarah, you're in charge, right?
We definitely have.
Yes,
the
oh,
audio
it is
on,
6:02,
so she might
okay.
need to change what her speaker
We need
is.
at least one more member though before we
Yeah,
can call the
before we
meeting to
start.
order, so.
And nobody's trying to get in, let me just make sure. Is that,
Hello.
oh, here comes.
Hello.
Hi, yes. Oh, we're so happy to have you. The sound is not working at all?
I can see our sound working on our end. I don't know if she can hear us though, because we said Beth and she's not responding, so I feel like she might have the wrong speaker
I
chosen.
can text her.
You know, like
Was Heather Bernada able to make it tonight?
I thought Heather was coming.
Okay,
So I'm not, and Beth, I haven't heard anything from Beth.
And Nikki's at soccer.
Nikki's at soccer and said she'd be late, but Heather
No.
Was tonight the meeting that Beth had said she has another presentation in her district?
Oh,
it might be. Let me
I'm
hold on,
trying to
let me check the
remember,
email.
yeah.
was that tonight?
Maybe.
Let's see.
Okay, Beth, she's gonna just,
She's just put her thumb up, so
she's, yeah, I'm texting her. She's gonna log off and come back in.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see. Yes, I think you're right, Lindsay, that.
A little bit ago, maybe.
Yeah,
How's that?
it was a
ago
while
that
ago. She was really planning ahead.
Yeah, she was, yeah.
Is your
But I think you're right.
sound off? Are you muted?
So let's see if,
Are you muted?
Okay, good.
Sorry about, make it all about me for a minute.
I'm just gonna email Heather.
back there.
I don't know. I just felt bad. I felt bad having my back.
I know, it is kind of strange, isn't it?
Yeah, it's because you guys just face us.
Yeah, maybe we should.
Then,
It's okay.
Then we
yeah,
can't see
we
that.
never have people
I
here.
have straws and stuff, don't worry. If you get hard hit in the back of your head, it's fine.
We can kind of do this.
Yes.
Side.
That's why I was sitting there.
I know.
Weird.
Sorry about that.
Beth, do you want me to share the presentation when you're up, or do you want to share it? I've got it preloaded if you want me to share it, so then we can see.
Given clearly my tech ability is weak, so maybe it would make sense if you could share it. That'd be great.
Yep, that sounds good.
Thank you.
All right. I'm sorry, everybody, we only have 2 school board members here, so we can't call the meeting to order quite yet, but we know at least one other is coming, so hopefully that will be soon.
How was the meeting on Saturday?
It's quite the experience.
What was that noise? Somebody
And
trying to get in?
I was
That might have been a
cheering,
text
I
message.
literally just couldn't stop cheering for everybody. I don't care if you're from Woodstock, I don't care if you're from wherever, I was just so excited. 1,700 students ran.
That many?
Yep, 17.
It's an amazing thing they pull off every year.
Yep.
Oh, I didn't realize it was that big. Oh my gosh.
It takes you went, because Maggie ran cross country, and Kai did too. I only did 1, maybe 2 woods trails. Maggie did a few.
We got him the t-shirt,
Oh,
because
it's
we didn't
very
get it last
important.
year, so we did it this year. But yeah, it was really exciting.
Good. Great on it. We can always hear the we were gone most of the morning because we went to the Sheep and Wool Festival. I had to see all the sheep, I went to all the sheeps. And we missed the music because usually we can sit in our back deck and just
The
hear that.
music this year was a little disappointing.
Alright.
Like when the boys started
I
running,
know
it
about
was,
it, I just haven't
it's
taken that
raining
step.
men.
I'll show you.
It's really meant.
Oh no, I need a hero.
Oh.
I need a hero, right? And last year, I guess when they ran, it was the Rocky theme. And they're like, that was like more like, we're gonna go. The national anthem was beautiful this year. Whoever was the 2 people that did it, out of the park.
Good.
Wow.
That's great. Yeah, so many great moments. You know, obviously Brian crying is always a good one.
Who cried? Right? He's a little bit of an emotional guy, huh?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
So now we call Logan Danny Diaz. What, are you running for tacos? How'd you run so fast? That's not you.
Is he pretty fast?
No.
Oh, he's not.
So last year, both of them would always come in last. But we don't know what happened, but Logan's like, he's in the middle to back now. We're like,
That's
"What-
huge."
Are there tacos? And he's like, are you getting me tacos if I win? I'm like, if you could beat your time from last time, we're getting you tacos. So he's getting tacos tonight.
Maggie, when she would run, because Maggie's almost 5'11". Most cross-country runners are not that tall. So, you know how they start way back in the tree, line and they come over. It was so easy, because all we had to do, because I can't see that far, just the head.
Oh, I love it.
And so she would be running up, and again, not speed. She's speedy in the water. That's the thing. She was a swimmer in cross country. Was her off-season swimmer, and just had a blast. So that's the same thing. Did you beat your times?
Yeah.
And teasing her about
Maybe Heather and Nikki.
She looks like the
I know, I am.
Because of my phone.
Oh, yeah, reasons.
Special stuff for friends.
What events did she swim? She was a swimmer back in the day too.
Breaststroke.
Just checked her
breaststroke.
not
So,
an
but she was
email.
extremely good at breaststroke. She made
Oh, that's what I was looking at.
regionals several times.
She doesn't.
Yes, we spent my life. I spent most of her from 4th grade up. I just felt like crying.
We can start without her.
Yeah, we used to swim, there used to be, way back in the day, it was a school called it at Hartland.
Yes, remember way
There's Nikki, okay, great.
There she is.
Excellent, okay, now, we don't have Heather or Beth, so we couldn't.
Oh, we didn't even have a quorum.
We didn't have a quorum.
What happened to the other one?
All right, but now we have a quorum and now
Okay.
you can open the meeting.
Okay,
The
great.
chair has called the meeting to order. Okay, do you want to hit record?
Yeah.
And. I need a pencil there.
I'm gonna have to go to the meeting. I'm gonna share my screen.
That might help. Okay. We good? No. Are we recording? Okay, let's call the meeting to order at 6:09. A little late today. Okay,
So we'll start with any changes or additions to the agenda. Awesome to see so many people here today.
And Heather's not even here.
Yeah, I know.
Right, exactly. We should take a
Um,
picture to show.
Yeah. Okay. So, no changes or additions to the agenda. Oh, I do, one change that doesn't really affect things. We are gonna have a very short executive session for an update on 2 student matters. So, we'll get to that. Okay, so I'll take a motion to approve the minutes of September 6th. All motion, okay.
I'll
Got a
second.
motion from Sarah and a second from Colleen. Okay, is there any discussion? This is not a lot of us to have discussion. Okay.
Good.
Okay, so I'll move to a vote. Since we're all here, I'm not doing a roll call. All those in favor of approving the minutes of September 6, 2022, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Abstentions? Okay, so that's 3-0. And I do remember Beth did say that she couldn't come to tonight's meeting.
Yes,
She
we
has
were-
to,
yeah.
She had to present.
yeah. And I will say that I wonder if Heather's confused because one of the calendars in my calendar says 6:30.
Ooh.
3 calendars say 6 and one says 6:30.
I emailed her and Colleen was gonna text, so it might be, I mean, she's probably on her way, but.
Yeah.
The agenda says 6,
Yeah, I know.
so, okay.
Just make sure I didn't make a mistake. No, and I'll look and see which calendar it is that it auto-populated. 3 for 6 and 1 for 6:30.
Interesting.
And I don't know how I subscribe to 4 calendars that auto-populate for the school, but I do. Okay, so is there any public participation or announcements? Anyone? And how many do we have online? Can we
None.
just who we can see? Okay. Okay, so we'll skip that, except I think I'm gonna announce the flu clinic. Am I taking that away from you guys?
Yep.
Okay, so you'll announce the flu clinic
Yep.
later. Great, okay. Okay, we'll move on to the administrative report and learn about the flu clinic.
It's in there.
Later
It
in the
is.
report.
Let's see, all right, I will share my screen. There we go, okay. So I wanted to start with just some fun photos of some of the highlights that we've done. Hey!
There she is.
Look, in a crowd here, look at this, look.
There she is.
So I wanted to start with some photos. A couple of the second two are from the community dinner that we had a couple weeks ago, and the first one is a fun activity that we did as a whole school assembly, where the kids were on scooters and they had plungers, and it was like a relay race. They were going up and down. It was a blast. It was an
It
absolute.
looks like so much fun.
It really was.
I think we need to do that for a board meeting.
We can do that. We have all the materials. We got them.
Practice.
Yeah.
And we can race the kids later.
Yeah, boy, I like that. And then just a few pictures. Some of our middle level students working with Mr. Martin. The second photo is some first graders working with Miss Westenfeld, and then a student taking a break in our Slate foyer area that we've really used to try to have it be positive breaks for kids, scheduled positive breaks. Times when kiddos just need a quick positive check-in with an adult. We're really using that area to try to do that. And some highlights, a Kay friend of ours, I had to include that good photo that I took the other day. Our kindergartners spent a lot of time in the woods, which has been really wonderful, really, really wonderful. And they do this great activity beforehand where they're drawing what they want to do, what they want to play. They're writing if they want to, or they're drawing. It's beautiful. Lots of play for all of our students, which has been amazing. All staff, every adult in the building is building relationships with students, which is the most important thing. Classrooms are creating their classroom expectations as well as leadership roles. For those that were at the SU board meeting, Anna Brooks really touched on that in a wonderful way, and how, at least in first grade here, that they're really establishing those leadership roles. Our students are leading all the all-school assemblies. We have a group of them that every single Friday, they're leading it, and it's amazing. Same group of students, but they're also working on, they do it every day, just virtually. On Fridays, we have them all here in person, and it's just like, it's a fun time to be had by all. It's wonderful. And then on Thursdays, it has been fun, the last couple weeks, Alina and I have done it. I go over the intercom with a theme song to like a show. Last week was the Gilmore Girls. The week before was The Office, and so I'll put on the song over the intercom, and it'll have to be like the fifth caller, or whatever it is they're calling Heidi. So whoever the fifth caller is that gets it right wins a little tiny gift card. Like, it's just something fun for people to have some fun.
That's
So
awesome.
it's been good.
Is that before school starts or?
After the kids leave.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I feel like we should educate our kids on all the songs though.
Oh, yes. The first couple have been good. They've been good.
That's awesome.
The next we have an 8th grader had his own report that he created on the school, which is really wonderful. So his first slide is that it was Hartland Elementary School was built in 1969, and the first extension was built in 1988, and I think there was a following extension in the early 90s. I'm trying to think of the stuff that's written out here. There's something in the 90s too, but yeah. He goes into what each of the middle level teachers are working on right now. So Mr. Martin is a science teacher, and so in 7th grade he's teaching about water displacement, and in 8th grade he's teaching about the density of powders and the steps for labs. And the kids are doing amazing hands-on work when I walk in there. It's incredible.
I'm hearing amazing things about science this year.
It's incredible. Ms. Fusco is our social studies teacher. So in 7th grade, they're learning about the 5 geography themes: location, place, human environment, interaction, movement, and religion. And 8th grade is learning about U.S. history, starting with learning about the geography of North America. Miss Abbott is working on character traits for both 7th and 8th grade. And Mr. Butts, who is also here, is working in 7th grade around proportional relationships, and in 8th grade about scientific notation and exponents. And our student, Cameron Whitcomb, an 8th grader who wrote this, and there's our middle level team.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Nice job, Cam.
I know, right?
Yay.
Awesome job, Cam. As far as I know, and that actually might have gone up a couple more. Is it 5?
5.
Okay.
Kids and 1 adult.
I think that changed as of today. So yeah, it's not 3 anymore, but.
Christine, didn't you say at the supervisory meeting that there were 0 cases in Hartland?
Yep. And then we knocked on wood, and then it was 3, and now as of today it was 5.
But
And I hear of other people that are on watch lists, so.
Yeah. And we did, we had some at Windsor, which I reported, and that didn't go anywhere. So that was good news.
Yeah.
We had some cases, and it didn't create a huge outbreak. So
Yep.
good. Well, fingers crossed that happens here as well.
Yes.
Has Annette by any chance contacted the state to see if they could do a vaccination clinic in school like they've done before?
Stay tuned.
Don't worry.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned, Heather.
Sorry, I got
We
really
will
excited.
answer all those
I got
questions.
so excited. I was here late, I'm sorry.
Upcoming events on Thursday, there is the SU visioning work that is here at Heartland from 5:30. Dinner is, let me get this right, Christine, dinner is 5:30 to 6, and we work from 6 to 7:30? Yep, okay. There is an early release this coming Friday and no school on Monday, and on the 19th, we are doing a walk to school day. And we'll put some more information about that out. We've got a good little flyer Alina's created, we'll put in the Wildcat Weekly this coming Friday for people. And Christine, I'm wondering, Beth, do you want to do your report first before Christine? Or do you want to do yours, Christine, and then Beth? She has some slides.
I am flexible.
Okay, Beth, do you want to go now and then I can circle back and have Christine finish hers?
I mean, if that's okay. It's approaching my bedtime, so,
I get it.
All right, here we go, Beth. You just
Okay.
you tell me when to switch slides.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
You're
good.
quite loud, actually.
Sorry. Can you hear me clear? Okay, so the sixth grade is embracing project-based learning, and as we had done at the last end of last year. So this year we started off with a roller coaster unit where kids could talk about kinetic and potential energy and do some writing. In front of you, you see the standards that we addressed in the project, which finished today. They're fourth and fifth grade standards, but we thought that was an appropriate beginning of school sort of activity to see where everybody was landing. So next slide. So this has got some clicks in it. Things are going to appear. So we talked about roller coaster history. We did some reading, some looking for clues, roller coasters in motion, which we examined the science aspect of motion. And then the last thing is we just completed an engineering design lab where students worked in teams of 3, and they had constraints on how they could build the materials that they were using to create these roller coasters. And so the next slide just had, this is the categories that we're using for the awards, which are going to be presented tomorrow. And we're going to add some categories to this as well, like most tape used, because that was clearly a thing. And height, yeah. And then they were all so mad because a lot of them fell over during the weekend, and they thought someone had sabotaged their projects. We were like, no, gravity. So anyway, these were just some of the things. It was just a really fun project. It got everybody working together. We adjusted our schedule so that we did our core content in the morning, and we split the time, and then we came together as a whole grade in the afternoon. And McKenna and I had agendas in both classes, and then we put them together, and they collaborated, and they went through a whole design process to figure out the plan and then how to use their materials. And then they tested and perfected. So I think there's a little bit more. There's some pictures. Here we go. So this is part of what the construction process looked like in both rooms. And you can see, like, the one on the top right, their theme was the forest. So they went out and got evergreens from the woods, and we're decorating it. The goal was to have the marble run for 10 seconds, which proved to be a lot harder than they thought it was going to be. But you can see that, for the most part, the kids worked really well together. It was really interesting to see who could handle an activity like that that's unstructured, and who, was sort of lost in that. And it helped us see how kids learn as well. So there's just a few more slides of pictures. There's some more. This is the construction phase in both rooms. So we opened up the doors, and the kids were going between classrooms, and it was a bit of productive chaos, I guess we're going to call it. Productive chaos. I think there are 2 more slides, I think. Oh, there we go. More construction. And now today was the race. And so these are some pictures of the races. And so the kids had to present, talk about their theme, and figure out what their design process was. And I think that there's just a little bit more after this. Yep. And it was a really cool, chaotic, energetic project. And the prizes are going to be awarded tomorrow. It was interesting. The top left picture, the groups we put together were very diverse. So we broke up, kids that were always going to hang together. And it was really cool to see how they embraced it and helped each other out and shared supplies. And it was good. It was a really good thing. So there might be one more. I'm not sure. I think that might be it.
That's it. Yep.
That's it. Okay. But anyway, so that's, and we're starting our next, I guess you could call it IDL, but it's really like a project-based learning that incorporates everything that we're doing. And now we're going to start a cooking unit, which McKenna has already started working on a literature piece with that. And we're going to build a cookbook with our grade of stories from their family and think about how they write. And there's going to be math involved in the recipes. And so, yeah, and that's it.
That is awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for letting me share.
It's really exciting. Thank you.
It was really fun. Yeah.
Fun to see the kids, fun to see the science.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Tell the kids that the board really liked their builds.
I will. They're all gone now. They've all been, they've been disassembled, recycled. All right, well, thank you. I'm gonna sign off.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Beth. Thanks,
Bye.
Beth. Oh, how do I follow that?
I know, that was really hard to follow.
But it is, one of the things we're really working on ensuring is that you're seeing the great things that are going on in the school. From the student perspective and the teacher perspective, and that's been a work in progress, like collaboration between those content teachers, and she said, I don't know if this is ideal, she's combining content in a project that's interdisciplinary work, so that's fantastic.
Awesome.
So, big thank you, Beth. So my report is not that long. I sent you the SU report to review before the meeting. I'll pull a couple of slides from it to highlight. And there are a few things just specific to Hartland. I know you all know this, but I wanted to be sure to state in a public board meeting that there have been several cases in Vermont that have been settled. And we've been instructed by Dan French to pay request for tuition to independent religious schools that meet education quality standards. These schools must be treated the same as request for tuition payment to secular independent schools that meet educational quality standards. So that, I know, we knew this, but I wanted to say it out loud to everyone. And Hartland will be impacted. It impacts every school in Vermont that tuitions students to high school. Here is the flu.
There it is.
There we go. The clinic flyer. It's going to go out on. I know it's hard to see. Sorry. I mean,
There's a
see what
big
I do
okay.
bigger.
Everybody program it in. It's 10:24 from 3:30 to 6.
It's also for staff, I believe, for staff and students, right?
Yes.
During the
Yep.
day,
During the
1:30
school
to
day.
3:30.
That's
Is it,
what Annette
is it
said.
flu and COVID?
It's
The hope, for at least from what, it's definitely COVID. There's the struggle right now with just getting supply for a flu vaccine.
Okay,
So
Okay.
it's, as long as they can get the supply for it, yes, it will happen.
okay, I just need to do both my shoulders.
But it's the boosters, it's the,
Yeah.
it's, and it'll be here. There'll be one in Windsor, I believe, on the
for age 5, okay, good.
23rd. So we're trying to get them in each location, yeah.
And it's okay to bring kids who are not current HES students?
Yeah,
Like,
they're gonna
have to bring
do,
minors?
unlike last year, so last year we did it in the gym. This year it's gonna be rescuing, so they're just gonna have the trailer. Our thought right now is to do it in that side parking lot back there, have all the cars moved and just have that trailer sitting there for the day.
Okay.
Woodstock did it, and
After school?
Part of it, yes.
It's during the day and after school.
Yep.
And a huge thank you to our nurses.
Yes.
For doing this.
A huge thank you. This is,
Yeah.
this is gonna be really good.
Yeah. Yep. it'll-
And, do we have a plan to put it on the listserv, or?
I'll ask Linda to put it on the listserv.
Yeah, that would be
that's a
good.
great idea.
Yep. Make it worthwhile.
Yeah, the one we had last year was fantastic in
So
the
great.
school.
Yeah, it was really
So-
great. And I really like, I did my COVID vaccine in the rescuing vehicle, and it was great.
Yeah.
They're just so well run, so.
And do you know if they take insurance or if it's something that's provided or paid for by the school?
You don't need anything.
You just
found
show
it.
up.
Show up.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
roll up your sleeve.
Spread the word.
Yeah.
Oh, I will. Perfect, I will.
Yeah.
The Heartland community group on board.
Yeah.
That's great. Lindsay mentioned a little of this. This is our first 4 sessions with Mike Nicholson from, he was from Battelle. He did our strategic plan with us and our portrait. He's coming on Thursday. He's going to be working with a group of parents. We're calling that the Parent Advisory Council for an hour, 4:30 to 5:30 on Thursday afternoon. Some of those parents may be joining us for the community meeting after. I think I have roughly 10 parents who've committed, and then we're at around 30 people that have signed up for the community meeting, which is encouraging. On Friday, the early release day, we have, I
13 or 14, I have lost count, students coming to work with Mike and have lunch together from across the SU, grades 6 through 10, kind of targeting kids that are middle, high, and are going to be here for the next couple of years. And then they are going to join the staff from 1:15 to 3:15. And it is staff choice to join this session, so we don't have a ton of staff, but we have some, and we're excited about that. And it will grow. There are, as you know, we have differentiated professional development this year, and there are some required trainings that staff have to take if they haven't taken them before they get to make a choice. So hopefully in his next round in December, we'll have some more staff joining us. But we're very excited to get this work with Mike started. It's really about student self-determined learning, student voice and choice, student engagement. So that's what we're about. And just quickly, just so everybody knows, we did hire, the SU board approved the hire of our coordinator of diversity, equity, and inclusion. His name is Ethan Lawrence. He's local, actually, he's from Hartford, but he lives in Windsor. He's currently the chair of the JEDI committee in Windsor, and he'll be part-time this year as he is under contract in a school. He's a special education teacher, but he holds a master's degree in social work. So he has a really good lens to do this work with his background. And Mary Gannon will mentor him. It's a new position. We've got a job description, but it will, I'm sure, morph as the year goes along. And Katie and Sergio are taking the lead as administrators to work with him and be the conduit to the administrative team and share information. And then that leads right into Katie's update.
So I heard you wanted information.
Yes.
I came with, and so one of the things that I don't think we have done since I've been here is split over time everything by building or by district. So I apologize for that. It was just something we don't extrapolate naturally and can't go back to do. So that's the numbers. And I was actually really surprised when I pulled the historical data from 2018 up to now to look at how our students identified on IEPs has grown. And I anecdotally can say that as we're building our MTSS system, we're actually seeing students slowly coming off of IEPs because there's more, and that we'll get into Act 173 a little bit. But we are also seeing a lot of students come in from early ed already getting services, as well as many people who move in disproportionately also have IEPs. And we're starting to track that better this year with our case manager model, which is also coming later in this. So that's just anecdotal. I wish I had like clear-cut answers, but I don't. And it is a trend for the state. We're not making our own. AGS has actually fluctuated between about 65 to 72 students between 2019 and now. We've seen, and I didn't have time to look at
Is that
population.
Is that pre-K-12 as well?
No, that's K8.
K8. Okay.
K8.
Yeah.
So just the elementary school. What has fluctuated, the Hartland School District, totally right and complete, has 95 students. I couldn't historically go back and pull that out. I actually had, from when I started here in 2019, numbers that I had. That's why I could do that for Hartland, the building itself. But as far as the district goes, in addition to the 72 OT students in progress here in the elementary school, we also have the balance of those students at either an alternative placement or high school placed. Because as you know, you're still responsible for those students who are high school placed. Although that number seems to be also dropping across the SU.
Nice.
Any questions on math?
No?
I got one. Did you do a breakdown by gender as well?
Not for the SU. I will, off the top of my head, less than a third of the students are girls, and the other 66%, somewhere around there, it's disproportionately male. So I can tell you that.
Not a
It's
surprise.
not, I mean, yeah, we've seen that before, but that's pretty, those are startling
And I'm
numbers.
sitting there, I'm thinking of what my numbers were before, no, it's not surprising, and it's it is actually a national trend, never mind a statewide trend. The under-identification or the over-identification depends on how you look at it. So, but I could get, that's an easy one I can pull. I could do that.
Next slide, Kitty.
The next slide. Okay, I gotta look at this because I can't see that up there. So some of the trends, pre-K is definitely increasing, which is great. We've increased our own pre-K within our SU, but we're also seeing an increase of students coming in from birth through 3 into pre-K who are already identified. Very few kids are actually getting exited as they come in. And what we're seeing is students with more intensive needs. Students who are much earlier identified as being on the spectrum or having some more complex medical needs, and that's SU-wide. I put here, when I first started in 2019, we started with 22 pre-Kers identified on IEPs. Right now, we're already at 32. So that's SU-wide in terms of students identified on IEPs. So that is, and they're students that require more than speech. It used to be, lots of those kids used to be and they still are quite disproportionately speech. Those S's and P's and L's and R's get everybody. But, that's developmentally appropriate, and we do a lot of early intervention on that. But this is far beyond just an increase in speech. So that impacts later as they come to kindergarten and first grade, and we catch those kids in school. We do have a decrease, and I know at the SU board meetings, you've heard this over time. At some point, I'm going to get to a graph. In FY21, we had 21 students in the extraordinary cost level, and for that's students over the $60,000 mark. Now it's $65,000 that we spend. That there are some students that also go to outside placements who don't hit that mark. But I knew I had that solid number. Most of our out-district placements, because of transportation and tuition, roughly end up in the mid-80s. Some go far above to 160 to 190 because of tuition costs and transportation. So that, and we have to track those every year for the state. So those were easy numbers to go back and pull historically. In FY21, we had a total of just 32 kiddos out in different places that the SU sent. Last year, we had 12 students in extraordinary cost placements, which is significantly different than FY21, which, if you remember, those of you on the SU board, affected our reimbursements, because if they don't leave and cost us a ton of money, we might not get a lot of that back, the 90%. So there's some of that give and take, but what we have done is built the capacity for a couple of programs. And I can talk about that in a minute. So currently, right now, we're about at 11. We have some kids who are transitioning from out-of-district placements back into our schools. That has been, we have worked very hard after COVID, I think, sort of shut down any transitions from coming from any of our collaborative programs back into school. Off the top of my head, I think we've had at least 5 do that SU-wide. So I'm really glad and doing well, which leads a little bit to our increase in people. So at Hartland, when I first came on, we were down 1 special educator, and then we found 1. It was back and forth, I had to go back through my notes. But we've consistently had 5 for the past 3 years. We did some of that by not hiring a lot of support staff back as we started that 3-to-1 model. We have found this year we've increased our number of support staff. And I was curious as I was doing this tonight and said, how many of those are 1-to-1s? Because for a little bit we had dipped on 1-to-1s. We're now back up. And that directly correlates to the student need. It's not something we do easily. In terms of, because we want to foster independence with children, we want to look at what are all the natural supports. But because of defining by student needs, we have 7 equivalent of FTEs And I put it as FTE because several of those positions are split 50-50, so people get a chance to do other things. And as you know, support staff and staffing in general is somewhat, that's the snapshot right now today of who we have. It could go to 15 to 16, and Hartland stayed pretty steady last year, and this year we're knock on wood, it will also stay. Any questions about that?
No, that's really valuable. Thank you.
I had a question about the pre-K. Is there more testing happening in our pre-K system?
I think we've done a better job, or, I don't know.
Because I know we've talked about it before, that sometimes it's frustrating because you don't know who's coming.
Our partner programs have a better sense of how to do our referrals. I think that has been and I mean, not just by us saying, hey, we're here, but statewide, what's our early MTSS system, our early multi-tier support, what's the child find process for early childhood, who you contact. Plus, as we're out in the field, we're trying to support individuals and teachers who say, hey, might want to look at this kiddo, and then we say, let's go through the process, or let's get that ball rolling. So it's twofold.
Yeah. I'm on the community health committee, I think it's called, through Mount Scottney. And Courtney McKegg is running a program where she is meeting with parents consistently throughout the birth to probably, I think she said through almost 2 years old, I think. And so we have a great partnership with Mount Scottney, and they share information as well for, if there are flags, Courtney might direct the parent into a place where the supports are made available, which I think helps as well. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, the sooner the better, I would think.
Yeah.
As I'm thinking about those 3 and 4-year-olds, their entire lives almost have been during COVID, and so I'm wondering how much of what we're seeing is a result of, a lack of being exposed to people outside the family, and a lack of opportunities to practice speaking and social skills, and do you have any sense of that COVID's impact on that?
It's interesting, the students that we're seeing, I might not make that leap because of what they're being identified with.
Yeah, interesting.
We're definitely seeing much better screening tools early on, 18 months and up, for children on the spectrum, for example.
Yeah.
That has seen, and it's partly because of some of our community resources as well. The speech language piece, though, I would wonder, talking to my SLPs, on the social language piece versus is it just straight artic anymore?
Yeah.
Because that would be something that would be impacted by sort of that social communication and family and what was going on during COVID. Behaviorally, we every once in a while, like our school psychologists will be pulled in to do some behavioral observations and social emotional. We have not seen an uptick in those on how to other people, joke about kids are how to get along with other humans.
Right.
We haven't seen that. We usually get a couple a year. We do have many students now that are just coming back to pre-K or in kindergarten that haven't had pre-K experiences. That's something we started to ask on our kindergarten screening, and one of the, not a deciding factor, but can be a factor in determining whether TK might be appropriate in order to try to fill that gap. And those are unidentified students. So it's a good question, because it's really hard for us right now to determine what's a disability for a specific learning disability, because these little ones didn't get the foundational education, and even our K1s, to the extent that we would use those same tools 5 years ago. Right. Different modalities and opportunities. So,
Another slide, there we go.
Yep. Okay, Act 173. As you've probably heard, and probably ad nauseum of what that looks like, actually Christine found it the other day and sent it to me, this link, which when you get the slides, I don't know if I could live. I don't know if it's live. Is it working?
fix it.
Okay.
You-
Is a one-page synopsis of Act 173, which has got to be the best document I've seen yet. What it looks like in action for us is, the staff will just say, it's just one big pot of money right now, Katie, so it doesn't matter. And that's kind of what we're doing in the sense of and we have been moving this way anyway, students are students and everybody should be working with students. As long as IEP services are met, our special education staff can work with other students. Our interventionists can also work with special education students and be service providers. That's some part of the rule changes that tied into special education. But we're really trying to look at our multi-tiered systems of support in a way that it doesn't matter where you're paid from. We're now changed from regular ed to special ed para. We now will say you are locally funded or SU funded. And so that way it's just about how you're paid, not who you work with. And that's part of this whole idea of having the most qualified individuals, because sometimes that means, I know Beth's still here, but you have a math interventionist who may know much more math than a general special educator, because that's what they do, is math intervention. And that's one of my best examples, because then that person can be that instructor for the special education student, and then the special education teacher can be the specialist for the reading groups, because that's their jam. And they can also have regular students who are not identified. So it takes a little bit between understanding our funding and how it now impacts our MTSS system. So we anticipate, and these are the harder conversations that we've had, to sit at meetings where we've identified a student in special education and said, they have a disability, it does impact their education, but do they need specialized instruction that's not available to everybody else? That's the awesome conversation we're having now on the need part, the third decision maker, because if everything's available to everyone, for the most part, the need for specialized instruction might not need to happen. So therefore, they don't need to be on an IEP to get everything. That's not across the board. There are students that need things that are far beyond that. But if we have math interventionists, reading interventionists, special educators with the extra reading and math instruction, teachers doing doubles and triple doses sometimes, I mean, all of these pieces, win time, all of it, then we address those needs early, often, and can have students be more successful.
Yeah, it's a real gap that bothers me all the time, and I think we experienced it as parents, where a kid is special needs, but is meeting all of the grade level marks that they're supposed to meet, but they still need help.
Right.
Dyslexia.
And that's the piece where, as we have introduced interventionists in the district, especially in Hartland, you've had several really stable ones for years. That makes a huge difference. And now that some of you remember, it used to be you had to have half of your group had to be special ed and half could be not, and it had to be 51%. I'm really not sure how we did that with children, if you think about that math. But we did it. We did it. That's gone, all of that. So unless you were grant funded through the Idea B grant, that has to be solely special education, which we've managed to keep in a way that we don't have to worry about it. Or pre-K, that's the other, because that's very different, special ed pre-K, so.
That's very exciting.
It is, and staff is we're doing pretty well with it. It's just a very, very different conversations, and very different for those of us who went through school with special education starting. Parents who went through school as receiving special education services are seeing things, and our current parents, that if you're not in special education, it's scary, will you get the help? So we have to do a really good job on it, being very clear about our student support plans, our 504 plans, or our IEPs, on where that fits in, because it doesn't look like even 3-4 years ago. It's very different. It's pretty exciting.
It's way better.
It is. She said it.
And working better.
Hmm?
Working better.
Yes.
So this ties into, I was trying to find pictures, so I apologize. Just go with the fact that I
Pictures are
did.
good.
I am not Brittany with with anything with slides. I know my limitations. There was a question about what's going on with this case manager versus service provider thing. So you might notice that for years, special educators were a little bit frenetic, frazzled, fried, any of those, just a little, with, I get to teach, but I also have to case manage, and I have to chase down parents, and I have to finish this IEP, and the state's after us, which we are being monitored, so is everybody else in the state, by the way. The whole state's actually being monitored by the feds. And they all went to go to school to actually work with small people and tall people and children and actually teach. So at least one other district within the southeast region and other states have moved to this model where you split out as much of the paperwork from the teaching. So the way, and it is a work in progress, we, every 2 months or so now, we are circling back to it, working out the kinks. We have 3 dedicated case managers. They have about 80 kids on their caseload, which don't freak out since they're not teaching them. That's considered manageable. Those people on this side, the case managers, set up the meetings, paperwork, compliance, communication with all team members. I talked about that they're conducttor. They're the ones that are off to the wings, they facilitate meetings. My conductor? That's the picture. That's the picture, that's the conductor. Or she's up front yelling, but I'm going for the conductor. It was the cutest one I could find. But they're going to make sure that the stuff is done that we have to do. I mean, and when some of you've seen the stuff that we're required to do for compliance, and it does suck the joy out of our jobs. Just put it that way. We were fortunate, we had 3 people in-house who said, I'd like to do paperwork, which I know was amazing.
Special soul.
Yes.
We appreciate them.
And we meet weekly to problem solve. And as I said, we've got some bumps, but what it has done on the service provider, like our speech pathologists, our OTs, our PTs, our special education teachers, because we had to start trying to call them something different, still have to do Medicaid paperwork, sorry, no one's getting away from that. But they're teaching. They're collaborating with teachers. They still talk to parents, but they're more involved in the day-to-day business of working with students so that they didn't need to have this large chunk of time to also case manage. Or I will put a nod to every special educator out there who works pretty long after school hours to finish IEPs and evaluations and everything else. So that's where we've broken that out. It has increased our special educators by about 1.5 roughly, but there's also some indicators of how we've built a couple of in-house programs or in-house classrooms, technically not programs, in-house classrooms, to meet the needs of some students as well. So the other increasing, and I've talked about this before, the SU, our school psychologists also being able to have more time to provide services versus just do evaluations. That's something we also built into this. I forgot to put that up there. So we're hoping we're going to keep data this year. We are looking, and that's part of the communication. This dovetailed beautifully with the state of Vermont's now required form of parent input at IEP meetings. We already were doing lots of parent input. We're a really good SU that way. We welcome the information, parents communicating back and forth. The state has implemented a form that will go home with IEPs, that go home with a kind of a 10-day, please look at this, so parents can give written feedback back, and that is implemented or is included in the IEP, or we call and say, let's have a meeting to address these further concerns. It's a way that, and we also will have another form. You'll notice on my emails, I now have all the parental rights. We're putting that in there, as well as the hopefully bi-monthly newsletter. I haven't quite got out the second one quite yet. It's coming. That we can get parent feedback on how this is working. And so far, I think it's going well. And it does require people to just take a little bit of a different lens. But
we rolled it out, teachers know, parents know. But I think that's my last slide, right? Do I have any?
Yeah, that's it.
Any questions on that?
Really exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, that's really helpful, just to get an overview of what you're doing.
And
I think we're gonna let her go home.
yeah.
That's why Krista made me sit here.
Yes, get out of here. Yeah, no, that was just, we haven't like formally done this, I think because of COVID. But the last time that we did it, I think we all freaked out about special ed when we had a different person come in, and we all walked away with a very, we were all in knots at the end of that meeting, and this just feels really good. So I appreciate everything you're doing, like what's happening looks really good. It looks like it's going in a positive direction, and I'm not tired enough right now. I'm excited.
Can I ask one question? Hopefully this won't put anybody in knots. Do we have a good sense of the budgetary implications of Act 173?
You said I could leave now, right?
I remember the last thing we heard was we were sort of like, I don't know how it's gonna look for us. Do we have anything definitive?
163. Yeah.
163.
That was our
sorry.
number that is less, which in comparison to other districts.
163,000.
Oh, okay. I thought I had
We
the act
received-
wrong.
No,
It is 173.
It's 173.
Okay.
It's $163,000 less.
Less, right.
That,
Is what we
okay.
received this year, which is considerably less. I thought it was going to be more. And actually Larry did ask me the other day, when are we gonna find out? When do we usually find out? I'm like, well, we've only found out once, which was last year. So I don't anticipate in October, that's when we found out last year.
Yeah.
How much it will be towards next year. I do know, as we head into budget season, and I have been working on my budget in between everything, between staff increases with increase of students, keeping students in-house, which is, it's far less expensive than putting students elsewhere in many ways, social emotionally, as well as cost-wise, and whatever the impact math they're doing for what we will get for next year, based on our per pupil costs. That it's a bit of, I don't know. I think we'll be okay for this year from what we've put out there. I do see this, at this point this year compared to last year, where we are as far as spending and what we've already encumbered, more than we were last year. So
A big chunk of it is the negotiated salary
Salary
increase for
increases,
support
yeah.
staff, which
Yeah.
is considerable, which we all support.
We all, right, absolutely. We wanted to do
But that is a big chunk of the increase.
Yeah.
that, and the other big one to preview is we didn't get the 3 HCRS clinicians, which came at a significantly reduced rate, but we do have 3 clinicians that are in-house.
They just cost more money.
They just cost more money. So there are some factors that we can directly relate to, but it'll be, hopefully we don't take as much as a hit. I do know other districts that had much more of a deficit coming in, and they were ripping, support staff and things along those lines, so.
Yeah.
But we'll keep you posted.
Thank you, Katie. Sarah hit you up with a tough one.
Sorry.
Way to be the Debbie Downer
No,
on the
it's
way
good.
out.
We're all learning about it.
Yeah.
That's-
Right, it's brand new, and I know there was a lot of uncertainty, and some of the projections were much worse than that, so.
Yes.
That's actually.
I was pleasantly surprised when I got the numbers, which was, it's not like it's a small number, but I was pleasantly surprised with it.
Right.
So it's something we can probably absorb, because we didn't know that when we went to budget last year. We didn't have all that
It
information.
seems like we should talk to the state too, because if we're bringing kids in-house, which is better for social, emotional, but then we're not hitting the extraordinary costs, like, we're saving the state money, they should give it back to us. Maybe we should ask them to recognize some of that.
And we're trying to look for some other grant options and how we're streamlining using our grant funds as well, as much as we can, whether other things we can tap into. From all the way from staff retention, mentoring, to student supports and instruction, so those are pieces that also tie into this.
Thank you, Katie. We really appreciated that.
That's good. I'm glad I didn't leave anybody in knots.
No.
I'm sure I'll do that at some other point.
Yeah, that's okay.
Bye, Katie, drive safe. Oh, no, she's passing, she calls me. Colleen's got my number.
Okay.
Colleen knows.
Okay, so that was the administration report plus special ed update. Okay. So I see we have.
Hey, it's Beth. It's Beth.
How are you?
Just fine. I'm in the car. I'm gonna mute myself and listen.
Awesome. Welcome, Beth.
Oh, no.
We missed you.
Who's yelling at me?
Okay. Okay. So I would like to move items for discussion. I assume we have Jamie here for the music program.
Yes.
You're not here for budget. And then Michael, you're here for faculty report update, or you're just here?
I'm just here.
Michael
I
is
can give you.
in training to be an administrator.
Ah, nice. Okay. Okay, then I don't have to move that one up, but I am gonna move the music program up a few slots so that you can also call it a night. Okay. So why don't we push Jamie up to now and you can go for it.
So I'm just back to continue the work that feels so awkward.
I know. This setup is weird.
Last year, we started to talk about moving more towards an equitable performing arts program in our building, and so you supported taking what would be like the first step, because the overall goal essentially was to have it so that we had instrument options and instruction available for all kids in grades 4 through 8, and eliminating the cost and the space at home to practice, which would be what would make it an actual equitable program. So we now have the FTE and 2 spaces, which was that first step towards doing it. And so our next step to move forward would be to start getting instruments in the hands of students that can't afford them for whatever reason, or even having it so that they had access to a space to play their instrument at school because they couldn't bring their instrument home for the plethora of reasons that they have to do that as well. So I brought some pretty extreme numbers to you last year, and that was overwhelming, and I was like, but that's not what you do first. So, where to go from here? We have a lot of instruments, and I recently reached out to Hopkins Center, and they're getting rid of a bunch, and I was late in the game to sign up, but not as late as many others. So I put our name on 6 or 7 instruments that they're going to donate, but they all need repair. So now I'm in this situation where this year I happily have instruments in the hands of a lot more students that wouldn't have otherwise been able to play instruments if I didn't visit lots of garage sales this summer and do various things to just get them. And I also want to talk about what the steps are for a system of handing over an instrument to a student with just a hope and a prayer that I get it back. So there's that piece too, which I'm not sure what we're supposed to do this year. I just went with it and I was like, here, take this trumpet, like, please return it, at the end. So there's a lot of things to discuss or for me to figure out and come back at another time. But I think my first probably most important concern for next year is the fact that I probably have upwards of 20 to 25 instruments that just don't work or are on their way out of working because we just don't have the money to fix them. My budget is $500 a year. I repaired a saxophone, and now half of that budget is gone. And I have a student who's just got this beam in his eye to play the trombone, but I don't have one for him, but it's on the list. And I'm trying really hard to get instruments to all the kids that have come forward, and my paperwork for them to sign up is like, this is Ellis Music and their program. Please don't buy them from Walmart. And if this seems like too much for you, please let me know so that I can see what we have in our library of instruments to loan out to you. And so with that, then I've gotten,
close to 10 kids that I've just sort of figured something out for them. But, so, once upon a time, we had a separate line item in the budget for instrument repair. So, I'm just sort of lobbying to get back to either getting a bunch of the ones that we have repaired so that they can go to students or be used by students, and have something to keep them, because the longer they sit and they don't get fixed and they don't get used, the more money it's going to cost to, or they might even be, a clarinet that I had an estimate for 2 years ago at $250 might now be determined as junk, because that $250 repair that never happened just sort of, it's contagious. The problems in the instruments are contagious, and then they eventually stop working, or the repair cost becomes so much that it's greater than what the value of the instrument is to get it repaired, so.
What would be the sort of cost benefit comparison of just renting instruments for those kids?
Yeah, and I had an extensive conversation with our representative. It's about the same. Buying a bunch of used instruments is not going to save you a ton of money in the long run. As far as, instead of renting, we have them, and they were for, like, so using what you have is probably the first piece, but renting, or me continuing to get ones, like I got a trumpet that works great for $20, like that's like nothing, because I was like, please, I'm a teacher, and he's like, okay. So it was just sort of like one of those types of situations. So what we have is just, we've got quite a few that would be the cheapest way to get something going. And then the renting is what I had shown you, the estimate for that I got for everyone.
That was for everyone.
Was like $10,000 a year.
Yeah. What about just, like, how many kids do you think there are each year whose families can't afford to rent the instrument themselves?
It's a tricky question. We probably have, if we assume the average class, like grade level is 30 kids, probably have 3 or 4 kids per year that don't play an instrument because they really can't afford it, and the parents won't say something and the student doesn't say something. So there's probably like 3 or 4 here that end up not playing. And then there's probably 2 or 3 where the student says something to me, or the parent says something, and I figure out what I need to figure out that year.
So like 5 or 6 kids a year for whom there's a financial concern, it sounds.
Yeah, and sometimes it just depends on the instrument that they want as well.
Right.
So that's a piece too.
Some
of them are significantly more expensive, or the upkeep is more expensive, or they've got consumables that are associated with the instrument. So it's not just paying the rental, it's other prices that pop up along the way as well.
But if it's 3 or 4 per grade level, 4 through 8, that's like 20 kids.
Yeah. And then we talked about last time, it's like, we don't just have K through 8 students, it's do they then stop playing an instrument as soon as they get to high school?
Right.
And it's not like we have one sending high school, so I can also, if that is an interest, I can reach out to all of our area band directors and ask them what they do for students who are on some kind of scholarship program, and do they have a lending library that we're not just sending a freshman who played, trombone for 5 years and loves it, and then,
Because it brings the kids together too when they're playing together in the classroom. You're able to teach them music, they can all play together and they have that sense of success and togetherness.
level playing fields, essentially. And at first I was concerned about the student has like the old case, that they open it up, and then everyone else is like really shiny because they got the rental one. I was worried about that, but the kids are so great. They're like, oh, that's so cool. They like look at it like it's a relic. They just like all theirs look the same, and that's not cool. And the one, so I'm worrying about nothing with that. So that seems like a total non-issue. Some schools handle it. I know that they handle it in the like there's the less popular instruments, whether it's because of the size of them or they're just less popular for whatever reason, and so bands are hurting to have kids play those instruments. And so those are the ones that they buy and rent, and they say, you know, like if you know, there's a thing on their application, and then that's the only instrument, because then you get to, like this year, my beginners, I have 10 trumpets, 10 flutes, and 2 trombones. That's my whole band.
That's a good
So, like,
band.
Right.
The clarinet band.
The
in
clarinet year was
seventh
right,
grade,
where they
right?
all played the clarinet, right, so then you run into they fill out the thing, a bunch of them want to borrow instruments, but they all wanna play flute that year.
Right.
So there's that as to what you have, there's just a lot to sort
Is
through.
there like a fundraiser thing that we as a community can do and help with the cost? I mean, is that
I mean,
an
can you
option?
always, can you do a concert
Yeah,
where,
marching band down the road.
yep,
Everybody watch.
we just like throw money at
Throw
them?
it around an
Like,
empty case.
I mean, I know that, you know, there's a lot of, there's a lot of people in Heartland who are very musical and would love to support music program, like, is this something we can get out into the community, like via listserv, via like, we're having, you know, like, on Saturday, we're having the marching band literally like march down the road, like, bring your money.
Yeah, I mean, support is definitely something I'm not lacking in this community when it comes to, you know, the performing arts. And for sure, I feel the support 100%. And then the lending library that we have often is used by students who forget their instrument at home. So a conversation came up about a fundraiser when I had a flute player forget theirs, and they went through all 3 flutes. They're like, none of these work. I'm like, no, I'm sorry, just do the best you can. And so they wanted to do some kind of fundraiser, and we talked about doing a practice-a-thon. So, and then it turned into a drum-a-thon, where you get sponsored, the students get sponsored to play their instruments for a certain amount of time, and we all get together and they all play, and I was like, that's gonna sound awful. Unless we do it in that's where I was like, well, we could all just do a big drum circle, and that would be a lot less, you know, but get sponsored per, you know, minute. It would be great if we just had some kind of jump start, and then to get a good deal of them repaired, so that I could then spend the $500 I have a year on things like the consumables, the spare reeds that I have there, or new music for them to play, or more major instruments, because our percussive area, we're playing Carol of the Bells and we don't really have a proper bell set, you know, it's like silly things like that, that if we had a consistent repair budget and a jump start to get those that are just collecting dust right now.
What would that be, estimate, number-wise?
I could send them all into Ellis Music and get an exact number. I can tell you that the ones that I'm getting from the Hopkins Center next week to repair the 6 of them that are there is gonna cost between $1,500 to $2,000 for repair like the 6 of them.
So like $5,000 to $6,000, like as a start?
Yeah, to get, and then the repair and maintenance of them overall would be significantly less annually to just
So it's a built-in repair budget that stays consistent or?
Right, and which I think is a good place to start, and then where we're lacking, that's where we look into rentals, and I reach out to the high schools and say, what can you do for our kids that we're getting, you know, instruments in their hands now that they won't be able to take them with them, and then what do we do in terms of sending, I have no idea, is it like Chromebooks where they have to sign a thing that says there's, you know, because.
Yeah. And who holds them accountable? Is it like, obviously financials with the school, somebody's gotta hold them and put it.
We
in
do,
something.
and for Chromebooks, often we make the child do some community service to pay off the debt, because oftentimes parents can't afford to. If it's a repair that they've Yeah.
I'm not doing homework today.
Right, yeah.
I think that repairing, like just in my opinion, I think that repairing, you're going through so much to try to figure out and you just don't have a fresh plate to start with.
Right,
You're
just
just
need it
kind
to-
of, you just need the time to have a fresh start in order to figure everything else out.
Yeah.
It's not a ton of money, to be honest with you,
No.
for
Yeah.
what she's trying to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
So Jamie, are you asking, what's the amount? Like,
I
would
know,
be-
I couldn't give that to you right now. I
Okay.
could tell you
Yep.
what the amount, I can send all of our instruments to the Ellis Music Company and get a fair idea of what we have, and I have, the Hopkins Center got estimates on all of them before.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah, so they can tell you what you're getting yourself, but, and also like what they consider like needs repair and what I consider needs
Yeah.
repair. They're a
Middle
little-
school, college.
Right, it's a little different, so, some of them might be.
That's
pretty
really
applicable.
exciting.
What do you think a maintenance amount would be? Like if you're get over this hump of this cache of
Well,
instruments?
because then we'll be maintaining like the current lending library, which is interesting mix of instruments. But, I mean, if you have just getting them professionally cleaned and maintained, like that's the thing is when you're renting them from Ellis, they'll do that for free every year. So, if we have 40 instruments on hand, you can probably assume about $100 per instrument every year, even when they're not broken.
Right.
And then you run into the estimate that I gave about, the estimate I gave for rentals did not include the fact that clarinet players go through a box of reeds, every month, and the trumpet players go through the valve oil like nothing, so.
Do they give like a discount if you give them like the wad of income discount or
No.
lump sum?
They said that they'll do it tax-free, is the best that you can do. So, it would cost us less than it would cost your average family.
I think if you want to pull together some numbers, and give them to Lindsay to put into the budget, and we'll just see how it all comes out. And I mean, maybe give us some options, like.
Right, that's why I wanted to get
Yeah.
my feelers out for where we're at before I got anything.
Yeah.
Because also sending them all in means that none of them are available to any of the students for a chunk of time, so it'd be good if I could just do that over the holiday break or
Right.
like a chunk of time where all the kids who use them don't have to go 2 weeks without
Right.
having access.
And I don't know, well, they come here, can they give you like a gross estimate, or
The
they
guy
really?
who comes here's not a repair guy.
Oh, okay.
He's the pickup guy.
Yeah.
So, a good question for you. When it comes to the consumables, have you ever thought about like sending out a letter to the parents saying, your child's doing this, would you be able to afford X amount of dollars for this? Because, okay, I was gonna say,
So
some
far, I
parents
haven't heard
might-
anything
is it a
back.
quote?
She's like, it's
Yeah.
silent.
Yeah.
It might have to be an email versus the paper, because the kid might not be giving it to the parent.
Is an email, is what I can do.
That
and
might
then-
be a good fundraiser project, though,
For
The consumables.
Just for the
for the kids, because they,
Consumables.
and they really see where their money's going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, and
Raise.
we were just talking about that, we had a PTO meeting just before this, and one of the things we were talking about there, which I think applies here, is oftentimes people, if you say a box of reeds is like how much, if you wear a clarinet, what,
Yeah, like
let's
20
say
bucks for
20
that.
bucks, okay. You wanna buy a box of reeds, 20 bucks is gonna get that for you, so it's like a visual for a person donating, like
Yeah.
$20, I can actually see what that $20 is going to
Right.
buy, so
Right.
something visual for people that might entice them a little bit more.
It's like a dumping an owl for the.
Yeah.
Instead of just setting the.
Right.
Yeah, no, exactly, yeah, but when someone can see like, oh, this $20 is actually gonna buy a box of reeds for a kid, then it might entice people to donate more.
The other thing I wonder is putting something on the listserv and asking people, you know, do you happen to have, you know, if your kid played and is no longer
Right.
playing, like, do you have an instrument around?
Which I did that last year, and I put in a listserv. I just personally contacted all of my former students and asked them what they were doing with their instruments.
There's so many instruments
So
out there.
that's, and I got some good ones that
Yeah.
were just sitting there and they were happy to hand them over. But I wanted to see if we were going in the direction of renting before I, you know,
Right.
or
Yeah.
repairing what we've got and going from there.
The listserv might make sense, because I know we did, when Judson at some point decided he wanted to try saxophones, and we put something in the listserv, does anybody have a saxophone? And we got like 3 people wrote back. The problem was they all needed to be repaired
Right.
to the tune of more than anyone was gonna pay for a saxophone.
Right.
So, you know, that's the danger, but there are, I think there are instruments out there.
Yeah,
that,
because,
you know.
well, there's a lot of schools that their lending library tends to be low brass and percussion because there's not a lot of kids who do low brass in the mid-level
That's what I
area.
was thinking.
But also, percussion doesn't have the consumables that.
And brass is somewhat easier to maintain. so
Right, they
that's-
age well.
Holds up better.
Yeah, woodwinds do not age well, but certain kinds do.
And I wonder, I mean, I guess in the short term, I think a listserv, and I'm even happy to send it, a listserv looking for the trombone.
I have 2 coming next week.
Oh, you
so
do?
I
Oh,
do.
good, okay, never mind.
Not yet.
Oh,
Let's
we
see
know where to
what-
find for more, okay?
Let's see where this.
That's right. Yeah, so I kind of wonder, like, instead of hitting people up for all of the potentially junk instruments that exist in the town of Hartland, like, maybe just trying individual ones as we need them, I don't know. But so, thinking, to answer your question about, like, big picture, and toss this out to the board, I guess part of me wants to see the program grow, like, if we can repair the instruments that we have and like start to grow it that way, and then if we really are successful and get more kids and like then start looking at the rental, like kind of as a phased approach. I don't know how you react to that.
That was what I was picturing, that we
Yeah.
get into the rental agreements are a good deal, so.
And
That's
some
the-
of those low brass are expensive.
Well, and some of them, they don't even rent, they only sell them, so.
Right.
If that's the direction, that money's not in the budget this year for Jamie to get those repairs. But I'm guessing there might be some supply money in the budget that isn't unspent, that we might be able to, just allow her to do that so that the kids have instruments this
That's
year.
what I was wondering, is if that amount of money
If that's what we're
might
gonna do
count.
in the long run, it might make sense to try to repair some of those this year, so that.
Yeah. Yeah.
If we're thinking big picture, are we also gonna ensure that she has like her own set class time?
What?
Her own set class time,
Oh.
so that the students actually have like a specific, like, this is your band time, not, it's another class and you're
Right.
kind of missing that
Right.
class.
Yeah.
So I think that would help her whole format grow, is the students actually know there's a set time for them and they're not missing out on something else.
That's the instrument lesson. She's got set band time in her schedule, but not, she would have to have set lesson time for every group of students. That's
Right.
where it gets tricky. like,
Yeah,
it's
and
difficult out of class.
Yeah, and the band time, like this year, what, the things that'll get kids into the program is getting the actual instruments in their hands, and they're so excited when they open the case and start. And the thing that gets them to stay in the program is them having the success playing it. And they don't have the success in learning it when they only have the opportunity to play those instruments once a week in school. And then they go home and they have a whole week that passes and they forget everything and they don't have the supports at home to play their instrument for lots of valid reasons, some just because they forget, but many that have super valid reasons. And then they come back and then it's frustrating because they don't remember anything that they did before. And then it's like redoing it all, and you can only practice hard buttons so many times in a row and have it feel exciting. So that's the thing too, is having more time in the school day built in for them to be able to play their instruments, which this year we went to twice a week band, but the lessons are once a week. So once they're well developed in their skills, they get to play their instruments 3 times a week in school, which has helped quite a bit for a lot of them. But the beginners, I still see 20 minutes, really 15 minutes once a week. And that's the year that it's hard, so.
I remember it was so eye-opening for me when we sort of, presented that we wanted to do this, and you said, well, actually,
Right.
let's talk about,
Yeah.
what the real issues are and what, and I thought that was so eye-opening. We talked a lot about, starting younger and building habits of practice younger. And has there, with the ukuleles and the recorders and how has that been going?
It's not building habits of practice as much as it is just introducing them to, because they're not taking the instruments home, so there's no habits of practice that way. It's just that idea of small group instrumental instruction, where they get that feel of reading music, playing an instrument, and by the time they get to 4th grade, they know if they're interested in doing that, with another instrument. Some of them, because of what they did leading up to it, they're gonna be so excited after playing recorder to finally get a saxophone in their hands. Some of them are so ready to be done with all of the small group instrumental instruction. So that's more of what that serves. I don't think it's gonna give them the at-home, practice, routine type thing.
Yeah.
But that is built in.
That is, yes, they're doing that now. That's what I'm saying, we've got
So that's good, yeah.
all of those things going, and so now we should be seeing an uptick in.
Kids wanting to play. Yeah.
And knowing that it's because they want to play an instrument and they know that they wanna do it, as opposed to sure, I'll give it a try if you'll pay for it, so.
Right.
This is really exciting.
Cool. Do we need to approve the repairs, or we can just say we support taking that out of the?
Yeah, and Lindsay can check in with Ed where she's at
Yeah.
and spend supply money.
Yep.
I'm sure we can.
So should I send some of our high demand, high need ones sooner rather than later and get the estimate and see if we can get those done this year?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
the rest of them,
Yeah.
say for a large week off or something, so.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's worth coming tonight, huh?
And if I can figure out some kind of fundraiser, then I can go ahead and, amongst all the theaters and
Actually, I wanted to just mention that my understanding is that you have a huge group for drama club.
Yes.
And
it's massive.
it's like, there's so much interest in drama at the school, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And I know, but it's so cool, but I think, that's a lot of kids, it's great. I just wanted to highlight that, because I think it's great.
There are a lot
Yeah.
that are.
Mid-30s, 30s?
Over 40.
Over 40?
I wouldn't let, yes, we.
I think I showed up for registration, and you think that some of them were outside, a lot of them were outside, or was that choir, or there was a lot of them acting.
That was
There was a lot
Yeah.
of them over there congregating, but they were so funny
Mhm.
and filled with joy, and they were so happy.
Like the
and
40 extroverted middle schoolers all together. It's a good time.
Except for a few introverts who were like, wow.
Well,
this
they're
is a-
extroverted when they're there.
There they are, it's true.
It's yeah, so sometimes I feel concerned about, getting it, it's the same group of people, the performing arts group. There's a lot of overlap, and, we're trying to bring back our spring Broadway trip this year and do all the things that we always did pre-COVID, and so there's gonna be major fundraising efforts. But my philosophy of fundraising is that we don't sell things, we give experiences, and so that's where the play-a-thon and getting the kids involved to play their instruments and be sponsored, and so it's an experience, but I always get a little concerned about continuing to ask for a financial support from the same group of people. sense where it's like a fundraiser is totally doable from my end, but I'm also thinking about all the fundraisers that I'm gonna try to oversee for the theater.
I know we used to have, I used to work for a retirement home. And we used to use some of our budget and funding, for the schools that used to come out and like do like little plays or whatnot for the residents, and the residents would be on board with their council and agree to like fund, them coming and support the cause. So I don't know if that's something that, or like, I know like Sparks and Zacks, I know they have so many people that, disabilities, I mean, they would probably love to see the kids just kind of like interact and stuff like that. I mean, just an idea, just throwing it out there, maybe. Public fund.
And the screaming haunted house, right? That's always a good one.
No, we lost the parent group that made that, and no one's, I put it out there, but no one's
Nobody
like,
wants to do it.
I like to do those too, so we'll see if we have another one to us this year.
Well, just a huge thank you to Jamie, because she
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
really
Thank you.
created an amazing program here, and that is definitely looked upon across the SU as, you know, what other schools really want to emulate. And that's, I mean, that's Jamie.
There's only one Jamie.
Yeah, I mean, and you brought kids from the other schools
Yep.
in, which is the exciting thing to the play.
Yes, I'm not so sure that we can make that happen this year, just because, I mean, good news, they're doing things too,
Yeah.
so.
Oh, that's
like,
awesome.
That's great.
Because that's my thing, is
Yep.
we don't take them from other
Right.
programs,
Yeah.
it's just if their school's not doing a show that year, then they
Yeah.
can come
That
and
makes sense.
perform with us.
They're getting one together at Weathersfield.
Right,
Yeah,
and that's what
great.
we had last year, and Windsor actually has the like whole theater, like
Yep.
during the day program, and then, so we might get some Albert Bridge students to come.
Well, it sounds like instruments or instrumentals and bands are really revved up with energy this year.
They
So,
are.
It's really exciting.
They are, I would say it could go either way, but.
That's okay, I'll take the energy.
Well, bringing them out of the like pandemic of
Yeah.
never, our current seventh grade has never, like last spring was their first time actually playing. They had been playing for 3 years, they had never done a concert, they had never played with a band, and then this year, like, grades are back and
Yeah.
playing tests, and they're actually like excited to do it. I felt.
Yeah.
And you've got a great space that works for the instruments,
Yes.
storage, so that was a good
Yes.
move as well, so.
Cool, well, we're excited,
Thank
keep
you.
us posted, let us
Thank
know
you.
what you learn.
I will, for sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Jamie. Okay, so now we're back up to item A, for renaming the Hartland School, renaming to Hartland School.
Sarah, you did the
Do you want me to
research, yeah.
share what I learned? So for those of you in the audience, at some point a few years ago, we talked about the fact that, Weathersfield is Weathersfield School and Windsor is Windsor School. And Hartland is still Hartland Elementary School, despite the fact that we have a middle school. So I got in touch with Donna Russo-Savage, who's the legal counsel at the AOE, and it was interesting. I think she was a bit surprised by the question and went to look and didn't find any. She said, here's what she says: "Hello, Sarah. To the best of my knowledge, there is no statute or rule governing the process by which the name of a school building is changed, or whether it is the board or the voters that have the authority to do so." And then she just asked us to let her know if we changed the name. So
the funny part.
It sounds like we've got some leeway here to handle it however we want. I mean, I feel like I would want to be really transparent with the community and give the community a chance to come and let us know what they think. And I know there probably is some nostalgic feeling in the community for I mean,
I'm sure there's some.
I'm married to somebody who graduated from Hartland Elementary School, so I think there may in fact be some some feelings that people may want to share, and I'm very open to hearing them. So I would suggest that we put it on, warn it as an agenda item and get some opinions.
Can I ask a question? Are we married to Hartland School, or could we be like married to like Hartland Elementary in middle school and just be called HEMS? Thought about this in the car, just throwing that out there. Who doesn't want to be called HEMS? Because then you don't lose the elementary part of it, but you also recognize that like, this is a middle school as well.
I mean, I'm open to anything.
I just didn't know if like, if it's like, we keep the name or we go to Hartland School, period. But I liked HEMS.
Hartland School strikes me as efficient and.
Yeah.
Yeah, if
there's
anything
something
changes down the road, we're good.
Yeah,
It does align
right, exactly.
with the other schools in the SU, like Weathersfield School, Windsor School, in terms of like that cohesiveness, it does align with those other schools.
Yeah.
And then there's
We
Alpha
add on the
Ridge
high school.
School.
And then there's, yeah.
If I may, for the middle school, it allows them to realize that they're not in an elementary school.
Yeah.
Because that's
Exactly.
really the pushback for a lot of students, is that transition piece of, I'm no longer in elementary, I'm now in middle school, this is how I should behave. Well, it's hard to say that when they're like, but I'm in an elementary school.
Right.
So.
What if the board's wishes to put it on the November agenda, I wonder if Michael, can we task with you and I, to see if we get some middle school students to have their opinions?
Yeah.
November?
Great idea.
And what I wanna say is it was warned on this agenda.
Was,
Yep,
yeah.
and we don't have a lot of
It's true.
feedback.
I know. You could do item for
I mean,
action.
I feel like something maybe should go on the listserv.
Right.
Or, because I think there are community members who have.
Yeah, I think it needs to get.
And just say, we're discussing this, we'd love to know what you think.
If you want to float it on the list.
And I'd love to hear like a faculty perspective too, because like, I feel like they should have some stake in the game as to what they're called as well.
Yep.
Because I feel like,
Yeah,
There's two
I would
questions.
love to do some research in the school first, and also to use that as a starting point to get the conversation growing.
So what if I created a survey that was sent to both faculty and students, that's like probably a simple couple questions, and I could bring those results back to the November meeting?
And I would love to have some students present too.
Yeah, and to kind of see what that says, and then
Yep.
we could maybe warn it for December and put something on listserv saying, we'll be discussing this, if you have thoughts, please let us know.
I mean, so we'll keep that on the next agenda.
You want it under discussion items?
Yeah.
Do you want to research what a name change involves technically? I mean, how many new sets of letterhead? Do people use letterhead?
Yeah.
I mean, the plus side is that the sign that is out there is quite literally falling apart.
Yeah.
So
New
that,
sign.
it was funny, Larry Dower and I were a few weeks ago, like, doing a walk around, and we're like, yeah, the sign, we probably could use a new sign, and then this conversation happens, I was like,
how much
well,
we'd save,
right?
elementary is
Less
a lot
letters.
harder.
There's a nice one, I think the one inside is pretty nice, it says elementary.
The
design,
one
it
out
says-
there is,
Yeah.
Yep.
But there's, the letterhead we make electronically.
Yeah.
That's a cost.
And the clothing.
Yeah, and the website and all of that can be changed quickly, I would think.
Most of them say Heartland,
Yeah.
right?
Most what?
Or do they say HES?
There's a lot of
There's
HES.
a lot of HES, yeah.
But they're not like logoed, they're just
No,
letters.
and a lot of like where people can order stuff now through that, what's it called, one something or other, they can essentially change it to what they want. There are
Right, that's a good
like
point,
a tons and tons of options, so you, eventually, if we ever went that route, I would just email the rep that I work with, just say, hey, take the word elementary out.
Interestingly, I noticed that all the communications from Life Touch already say Hartland School.
They do.
So, and I think because they were trying to.
It's too many
align
letters.
with the other schools, right?
I'm all about the too many letters.
Yeah.
No extra letters. I think that's a great plan, and I think that'll get the conversation started. I'd love to hear from some middle schoolers, because I think that's a really important lens. I mean, that's why we're looking at doing this, is to make them feel included and older.
Yep.
So Michael, maybe that you and I can sit and come up with some possible students and ask them, or ask any of the middle level students if they wanna come, and we put it out ahead of time, we can, if people not notice.
Tell them we'll make cookies.
Okay, but then we have to make the cookies.
Well, Alina makes cookies.
Alina
will make
She's never- so. Well, in PTO, there's a person said, we have hospitality that's not there, and I'm thinking, she's bringing cookies every week, and I'm here every month.
Yeah.
It's only not that, but it would be great.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think we got a plan there.
Okay.
So, we're on to budget update. Lindsay, I know that you said you didn't have a huge update.
No,
Yeah,
nothing,
so.
nothing right now. I mean,
Okay.
not just really what Jamie, I knew she was going to present something, but
Yeah.
I'll go to Ed and talk with him about what we've got left in general supplies, and I'm sure we can find the funds.
I know a while back, Tina, like right during the COVID year, Tina had a pretty big budget for library. Did we ever? Yeah, STEAM, yeah. Did we ever buy those materials? Okay, we did.
Yeah, and she continues to have a sizable, she's very good at proactively thinking about what she's gonna need for STEAM, which is always changing depending on what the kids are interested in, what the teachers are doing, so she's got a pretty good budget.
Okay.
I wanna say that with the books that she has, because my son is mixed, different races, and we're used to a very cultured family, all different colors. And I will say that the books that he's been coming home with have been amazing. Like, all I did was say one thing to the teacher, like, and my son, like, really, like, there was a book about a boy and his dad, and he doesn't get to see his dad. We really appreciated that.
That's
And we've
awesome.
been getting a lot of books, all different colors, and he's super excited when he reads them. Sorry.
That's so good to hear.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
I know.
We've
Really?
had conversations about books where kids can see themselves in the books. So it's good.
Yeah.
It's good to hear that.
And the students did a whole audit last year, library audit, and made recommendations, and she did purchase a lot of those books,
Yeah.
so that's great.
And it's not just like, learning about someone's like culture or like, religion in the culture, or, it was like about a son and his dad, and then this girl and how she's different, how she has blue eyes and curly hair, and, just different. It was, so we've appreciated, he's appreciated, he likes his books, and he actually listens when I read this.
That's awesome.
It's a win-win.
It is.
Yeah.
No, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for allowing me.
Yeah, that was powerful.
So Lindsay's in the budget gathering stages
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be, supporting her in
Thankfully,
budget work.
yes.
Yes.
Got lots of help from Christine on that one.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I'm just gonna keep leaving it on the agenda,
Yeah. Yep.
just
Yep.
because
Yep.
it's that
Checking
time
in.
of year and.
Yep.
Yeah, the SU.
And if we move through agenda items quickly, I'm not gonna complain. So, okay, faculty report update.
And that I just included in the administration update, so that was,
Yeah.
between Beth's and.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so we need to reorganize that a little bit
Do you
better.
want me to put that, is that gonna be a consistent, you're gonna try to do something
That's
monthly?
the goal, is
Yeah.
to do something monthly, so it could just be within the administrative
Yeah.
report, if that works for
Yeah,
the
that
board.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yep.
And it's so, I love
That's great.
hearing from a staff member and hearing what they're up to. I mean, that's like what it's all about. And it's so nice to kind of get that along with numbers and
Yeah.
the more clinical stuff that we have to do. So thank you.
If they wanna send kids in to, show us their stuff, I'm all in favor of that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bring them kids in.
They can even come remotely if they.
They,
it's a
yeah,
hardship.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought we were gonna get to
We'll
see
make
Cam, I was so
I
excited.
know, I know.
That's okay. Tell Cam that we really
Yeah, I
appreciated
will.
it, though.
He'll like that.
Yeah, I will say, like, watching what the teachers are doing is feel good, but it's also us being able to see the things that we're pushing in person, and so that is really helpful, because then it generates more ideas, so we can push more stuff. Okay, so I'm gonna keep going. We have no items for action that I know of. So we can move to setting the next agenda. I have two things on the agenda, which is the renaming to Hartland School and the budget update. Are there additional things that we wanna talk about?
Is that gonna be November?
But you guys have been meeting a week before, and that's working.
Yeah.
The rest of the agenda, that works great.
Yeah, we've been, Lindsay and I have been meeting, what, 2 weeks before, or a week?
I think a couple weeks before, yep.
Yeah. So if you guys think of things in between, the things that come up, let me know.
Can I ask, on our radar list, we have sort of like our social emotional, on there. Is there any way that we can get like some information about like what kids are doing with, like their SEL learning? And, like if there are sort of any numbers of, like, are there more incidences, are there less incidences because of these things? I feel like, I know in our own school, we've been changing some things and that's caused more or less of certain things. So,
So
just.
yeah, maybe that's something you and I, like maybe some, if you wanna create some slides that we can put into the administrative report around, would you be interested in like a data looking like number of referrals? Because we have changed the way in which teachers in the SU input behavioral referrals. It's done via Power School. So we've been trying to really be intentional about walking teachers through how to do that.
Yeah.
So, because that data is really, really important for us to look at. Is that something that?
Yeah, that would be great. And
Yep.
also like what, yes, I'll just say yes, that's good.
Okay.
So that's behavioral data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
But
lends
like
itself
in
to
the
social
classroom, like
emotional.
what, like what SEL teachers are doing.
So maybe
That'd
it's
be nice too.
That, and that's, yeah, maybe part of the, I wonder if we can see if there would be a faculty member and
Would,
maybe.
like one of your SEL faculty members, like love to come and tell us about all the great work that they're doing.
They
That'd be
are
awesome,
really.
too. I know, oh, I know.
Yeah.
Yep.
You take some pictures of the cafe.
I know.
Yeah, we could ask Alicia, maybe Alicia or Karina, one of the two of them, we could see if they'd be willing to come, even if it's just virtually, maybe they could come and, or, yeah, Alyssa McDermott?
Or Chad,
Or
because
Chad.
Karina has some.
Yep, yep. Alicia, yep, okay.
So do you want that as part of your faculty report update? You want me to put a?
I would say, is the board fine with just putting that within the administrative update, as long as that's in there, is that fine, so then it wouldn't be a separate item?
Yeah, can we just call it out though, so I, like,
Yeah.
so people can see?
Yep.
We'll call it SEL update.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, and, yeah, so, but the same way it says special ed update, just to
Yep.
let
Yep.
people know that we're.
Yep.
Yeah, I
And
like
I'll
that.
actually write it out so people know what SEL means.
We have
That's
this
good
beautiful
too.
radar list, I feel like we should use it.
I know, I always look through it,
Yeah,
looking at the
yeah.
agenda.
We just did
So I
it.
think that's a nice one, we just hit special ed. I am just going through the radar list right now.
I'd like to hear about proficiency-based education, if there are any updates on.
Do you want that? So what we're trying to do is be efficient in our reporting. So that might be a great SU board Angie report
Yeah.
as part of her curriculum report, which she
Yeah.
just did. But she's got another one, I think, mid-year.
Yeah.
Is that too long to wait, Colleen?
No.
Okay, I'll put that on her radar list. Put that on Angie's radar list.
What about building, does the
Right.
building committee need to meet, or I think we're sort of waiting a bit, right, to start, I mean, we've got some time, and I don't think there's any huge urgency, but I just wanted to make sure that didn't
Yeah,
drop off.
that's on the radar, yeah, because I guess I would think that would be a consideration for the board if that amount of money, I want to say it was
Right.
something like 14,500 or so, whatever it was. If that's something the board is interested in putting into the budget for next year to do that, study.
Right.
Keep that on our radar.
Yeah.
Put that on your budget list.
Is that to the local budget?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I think for now, we should put it in the budget, and then we'll make those decisions.
Yeah.
Just know where it is and how much it is and
Right.
where.
How it feels.
Right, so
Yeah.
if we need to take something out, we can.
Yeah. Okay, well, I feel like that's good. Christine, you had something to share, didn't you, in executive session? It's, why do I like
Yeah.
vaguely,
I sent you some case, some legal,
yeah, there was that.
but that wasn't, those
No,
were
I
public documents.
I feel like I read somewhere that, okay, never mind. I'm remembering like,
dream.
yeah, maybe I was reading,
But we're going in for 2 student issues.
yes, we're going in
Yeah.
for 2 student issues. Yeah, no, I was remembering something about scores or something, but.
Oh,
Well,
yes.
I did send you some
That's right.
data,
Yeah.
a follow-up question
Yes.
from our
Yep.
executive session.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I can elaborate on that.
So I did see
So
words,
you-
executive
you were
session
not-
and data.
That's right.
Yes.
Nikki, nice job.
Nikki.
Do you want to phrase that a little bit better so that people know why we're going into executive session?
We are going into executive session to follow up on questions asked about the SBAC scores that are still embargoed,
Okay,
which we cannot speak about in public session yet.
right. Okay, great.
Yeah.
And then we also need to discuss 2 separate student matters.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so
Right.
I will take a motion to go into executive session.
I move.
Okay, that's moved by Colleen and seconded by Heather. Okay, I'm gonna take, we lost Beth, huh?
I don't even remember where she went.
Her connection was
Oh,
not,
it was not
very
good, yeah.
strong, so.
Okay, so since we're all here, that's what I was trying to figure out. I will, take a vote to move to executive session at 7:50. All those in favor of moving to executive session, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay.
Can
All
we
those
do
opposed?
consensus now,
Abstentions?
since we're operating on?
Yeah, we can do it under consensus. Let's go
Just
to
occurred to
executive
me.
session.
Let's go to
Thank you.
executive session.
All right,
Yeah,
I'm
because
gonna
that's
We
not one that we
concede.
need to.